again. How are you all? This is Havala from Have Strategy Consulting, where we help you build Raving Fan employees so can create Raving Fan customers. Well, guys, thanks so much for following along so far. This is video 5 of 6. We are almost at the finish line, and we are talking about your hiring process and why it is so foundational to creating Raving Fan employees. So far, just to quickly recap, we have covered job descriptions, we have covered how to review resumes and select the candidates for interviews, how to get through your interviews, and then how to select your candidate for an offer. So now you have the candidate that you want. You've let them know an offer is coming, and you've asked them if you may check references. Do we still do that? That's a very good question. I get this question a lot from people is, do you check references? Is it worth it? Do people even tell the truth? What are you really trying to find out? It's kind of garbage. Maybe. So my answer is this. I still like reference checks over social checking. So social checking is when you go look at their socials. Unless they're a social media manager and you want to see how they're managing other social medias, or you want to check out that's a different story. But if you're just looking to kind of stalk your candidate a little bit, just to kind of get a little glimpse into the day of their life, social checking, I have mixed feelings about. I think it's a bit intrusive. I don't think it gives you a really good picture of who they are. I think that it can actually lead to a lot of challenges and potentially open you up for some liability. So I'm not a fan of social checking. I know a lot of companies do it. I also feel like, again, we're dealing with humans. We're all human. I'm pretty sure at some point or another, all of us have put something out there on the great wide world web that we regretted. So I think that needs to be not a very heavily weighted piece of your validating this person. Why I do still like reference checks and why they're not outdated is because reference checking is really not about knowing if they're good at their job. It's really about knowing how people perceive this person and how they interact and how they communicate. So a lot of companies, if they're big companies, won't give a reference check. They tell their people don't do it. It's a liability, and it is. So what they'll do is verify employment. Okay, that's fine. I've learned a lot in employment verifications regardless. What I always ask my candidates for are who is somebody that you've worked with, past or present, who would be willing to have a conversation with us about how you work. So again, they're going to give you somebody who's probably going to say nice things about them. But I'm going to say this. I have done reference checks in the past of people who gave me people to talk to that I have found out extraordinary things about that I would not have known, and they did impact the hiring decision had I not done a reference check. My favorite story, and I'll do this in 2 seconds or less, but my favorite story was way early in my career when I was doing accounting recruiting for an agency. I was the junior recruiter. I was brand new to this whole space, and one of my jobs was reference checking, and I got this senior financial analyst who was awesome on paper. He came from a really good company. He had been let go, but it was a little murky as to why. And we did, as an agency, reference checks, and I did his reference checks, and everybody I talked to was like, yeah, he's good, but there was definitely something. I could tell they were holding back on something, but he didn't get a bad reference check until the last person I talked to. And I always ended my questions with, is there anything else I should know about this person before I present them to a client? Remembering your reference is 100% confidential. They'll never know what you said. And this guy says, you know he was fired for embezzlement, right? No, we did not. Thank you for sharing that. So I love that story because it goes back to the fact that you asking the right questions in a reference check will get you better answers. So I like reference checks, particularly for leadership and, above leadership and above positions, definitely. Entry level or lower mid-level, probably not as important unless they're a financial position and you need to know if they embezzled money. But what you want to ask is open-ended questions in them. And again, what you're looking for is not how they did the job, but how do they interact? How are they perceived? What is their behavior like at work, in the sense of, are they liked? Are they a team player? Are they somebody who everybody likes to be around, or that people only really want to be around in certain situations? So open-ended questions are really, really important in all of this. And you also want to find out how this person comes to work. What do they know about them outside of work? What does this person really like? Is this person like ice skating? Do they like skiing? Are they an avid runner? These are sort of the things too that help you understand if they bring that to work or if they keep it separate. And that's okay if they do, but just gives you a better picture. So I do like reference checks. Again, they're not a waste of time, but don't also put a lot of time into them and don't put a lot of weight on them. They're really just an additional factor to help you better understand who that person is and how they're going to fit in your team. So that's what I like about reference checks is they just give you a more well-rounded picture than just your one little snippet of interviews that you had with this person. And again, don't spend a lot of time on them and don't put a huge amount of weight on them, but they are really helpful in getting a better picture of who that person is and how they'll fit in your team from other people that they've worked with. All right, guys. So I really appreciate your time here again today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. And I would love to know your takeaways, your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you think reference checks are helpful or not? And follow us on our socials, LinkedIn every day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.